Getting my heart broke was probably one of the most important things to ever happen to me, and probably one of the largest turning points in my life that's made me who I am today. In this video, I want to talk about the woman who broke my heart, the lady that crushed my shit. I want to tell y'all about all the things that I did wrong in that relationship and all the lessons that I took from it so that y'all can possibly avoid the same pitfalls, even though I believe that this is one of the most important things that every man has to go through to understand how things actually work. You know, that relationship actually lasted a while. It lasted 5 years. And over the course of those 5 years, I learned a whole lot. But let me take y'all back to how we met. This was basically back in high school, to put it that way. Family had just moved back from the States to Norway again. And when that happened, I actually had to relearn the language. And that's where I met her. I met her at the school where I had to relearn Norwegian. I remember seeing her a lot in the hallways and stuff. But back then, your boy was a bit shy. I would lock eyes or see a chick and I wouldn't do anything about it. And I remember it got to this point where school was about to end and I realized that if I don't do something, then nothing's gonna happen. And what I did, it's the complete opposite of what I do today, but I kept locking eyes with her. I would see her, and what I did was that I went on Facebook and I added her there and I just started to message her right there and then. Started messaging her, see what's up, see what the vibe is and everything. And I was just straight up and honest, like, yo, I'm feeling you. You down to hang sometime. Time passed, some months down the line, your boy was in a relationship. I'm laughing because knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done it. It's one of the things that made me who I am today, right? So for the first 2 years of the relationship, it was all that puppy love stuff and, you know, just getting real close and enjoying each other's time and all that stuff and creating a real bond. We did a lot together, and that was one of my first mistakes that I want to share with y'all. When you're with a person, enjoy them, enjoy their time, enjoy their company, but also make sure to have space between each other to do your own activities and have your own hobbies and interests. And you don't want to get too close, man, because I'm telling you, over the long run or over a longer period, that's going to come back to bite you in the ass. We did a lot of things together. We traveled a lot. Basically, we hung out every single day. I believe that's where one of the problems started because, again, when you don't have space, you start to take each other for granted in a way. At least from what I understand now about female nature and stuff, the woman's always going to take you for granted because you're always available. You're always there. There's no space between. There's no space for her to miss you in a way. Now, the third year of the relationship rolled around, and that's when I really started to take notice of the fact that things were getting a bit weird. Like the behavior's getting weird. The things you're saying are getting a bit weird. Me being me at that point, I was number one Mr. Nice Guy. So I would let things slide. I wouldn't check it as much as I used to in the beginning. I had basically lost frame. Now, I didn't understand that I had lost frame because I didn't have the understanding of what frame was and all these things. And I didn't understand relationship dynamics at that point. I was basically just going with the flow. And going with the flow is good to an extent, but you have to have these standards and boundaries, I believe, so that you don't lose yourself. You know what I mean? I believe year 3 was when COVID-19 hit, and that was a turning point in our relationship, I believe. I'm saying things from my perspective. In a way, it brought us closer, but at the same time, it's what also started to split us apart in a way, I believe. I started to feel in my intuition that, you know, maybe it was time to, you know, step away and focus on the things that you want to focus on. But for some reason, I wouldn't do it. Maybe because the bond was like really strong or whatever. Felix today, I'm hitting the eject button. That's crazy. Felix today, he's hitting the eject button. He's not wasting any time. But instead of me checking her or fixing the situation how I would have fixed it today, I would do the complete opposite and be Mr. Nice Guy about it and just let it slide, like I said. Because we're all taught from when we're young, bro, like this happy wife, happy life BS, which if you say some stuff like that to me, bro, like I'm just gonna cringe because all you're saying, or what I hear, when a man says happy wife, happy life, all I hear is, I'm gonna train the dog and I'm gonna do whatever she's gonna say. That's all that goes through my head. Like, you have no balls to you. You have no spine to you. That's all I hear when people say that stuff. But that's what we're taught from young. What is that other saying? Like, women are sugar and spice and all things nice. I think that's what the saying is. Dog. Like, all that stuff is wrong. And I'm laughing because when you experience more things and you start to make sense of it, you realize, like, it's all a lie. Anyway, let me get back on topic, man. 2020 was a weird year for all of us, man, but luckily for me, in the area that I lived in, things did open up eventually and start to operate as normal pretty early as well. I could still go to the gym, I could still go to work. Life was somewhat normal, but you had these restrictions, and as time passed, things opened up. Now 2021 rolls around, and that's when things really start to get interesting. That's when I had to make a decision. And I took the wrong decision. This is the fatal mistake right here. I put a woman's purpose in front of my purpose. I put her dreams and goals in front of mine. And it was like the ultimate test. And at that point, I had failed it. I'm not sure if she knew herself. I have no idea. Just from my understanding of relationship dynamics between man and woman, men lead, women follow. People disagree with that. But when you see couples that are successful and still together and have a great time, the man's always one leading. And it's like the lady is playing a huge support role, supporting him, checking his blind spots, helping him out to navigate to where he wants to go. I was faced with this decision right here, and I'm gonna tell you, I remember us getting into this argument because of the fact that I had applied for flight school and I got into the school that I went to. I'm living in the city right now, and she had basically said, nah, she doesn't want to move down here because town's small, blah, 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 all this stuff. It wasn't worth the sacrifice for her. I didn't really care. I just wanted to get my flying done so that I could become an airline pilot and, start working as one. But anyway, we got into this huge argument, and what I did was that I made a compromise. Now, Felix today, no. It wouldn't even be a suggestion or a topic in my world today. I can understand compromise on some things, but as a man, I'm not going to compromise on my purpose and what I'm trying to accomplish, because when I accomplish those things, you're gonna win too. At that point in time, like I said, number one, Mr. Nice Guy, trying to appease everybody and whatnot, folded in that argument, and we ended up moving to another city. And in that city, I actually did start flying there. I started on my private pilot's license for a bit. And here's where it gets interesting, because sometimes the universe will just like lead you to certain places and show you certain stuff, and it'll show you that the way you're moving is wrong, and if you don't do something about it, you're gonna get punished for it. Let me just take a step back. I remember even in that argument that we had, I remember feeling in my gut like, dude, like, what are you doing? This ain't right. Something's not right here, and it's gonna bite you in the ass if you don't make the right decision. But anyway, let's fast forward. We moved to the next city together. We moved in together. That's another mistake. Doing that, but again, lesson learned. I'm glad I learned it early, bro. For real, like looking back, like I'm just thankful for it, and that's why I'm sharing it with y'all, because don't make these same mistakes, dog. It was all nice and dandy for a while, but I started to notice too, like the behavior would get weird. And now I remember these two specific questions that really lit a light bulb in my head. But for some reason, number one, Mr. Nice Guy, he wasn't about to do anything about it, or he didn't want to clock it. He would just deny it. But I remember her asking this question. These two questions. And one of them was her basically asking that if we ever broke up, would there ever be a chance like that we could revisit this thing? The answer that I gave her is one thing about me that hasn't changed since way back when. Because this is something I always told her. If we ever split, there's no coming back from this, because what's the point then? I've had experiences where I've lost people that I call like my best friends and stuff. They've walked away from me, and I never chased them, because something my dad taught me early in life was that when someone walks away from you, just let them. There's no point of chasing them. They don't want to be in your life. So why would I do that? That was basically the answer that I gave her. The next question, I don't remember the word specifically, but it was something about us doing our own thing. How I would feel about that. Mr. Nice Guy again. Yeah, it's fine, it's cool, because me, I enjoy my space. When I get time to myself, that's when I'm at my best. I remember when she asked those two questions, that's when I was like, damn, this is actually the beginning of the end of the relationship. And lo and behold, 3 months later, I remember both of us going back home to visit our parents. I think we had a little argument again, but I remember just my intuition, man, it was just like, something's not right here. And I remember my mom, my mom had clocked this too. She was asking like, Felix, is everything okay? Like, are you all right? Because I'm getting this vibe off of you, like something's wrong here. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, I'm chilling. Yeah, things are normal. Trying to play it off, but moms, they know their kids. I got back to me and the ex's apartment, and I don't remember how long in between that time period there. All I remember was that she was at her mom's, and she had FaceTimed me, because I texted her during the day like, I think I know what's going on. You can just like call me, break up. I think that might have been my weakest moment ever, bro. I got a bit emotional, and that's not common to me to get emotional, you know what I'm saying? But I was a bit emotional. She came back the next day. We tried to like talk it over, blah, blah, blah. But it's like when you understand stuff, but like knowing what I know now, it was already done for. Problem was that I didn't clock that it was done for because I didn't understand all those things that led up to the breakup. I didn't understand it, or I understood it in my intuition, in my core as a man, but I didn't understand it up here logically. That's why I think getting your shit crushed and getting your heart broke is like super important, because it really changes how you view things when it comes to relationship dynamics. If you're a smart guy that wants to understand as to why these things happen, because there's a lot of people as well, they go into relationships, they break up, they get out of it, and they get into a new one and they think like things are going to get better, but they haven't learned jack shit from the last relationship. But I also remember there was this feeling of relief inside of me when she actually gave me the message. Even me being emotional, it felt kind of forced in a way, like why am I doing this? Because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro, I'm cold. My emotions, that's something that I keep under control always. But that moment right there was a weak moment for me. I would never do that again. Oh my God. The story gets even more fun because when the relationship ended, we lived together. There's a 3-month notice period on that apartment. Now me, I wasn't about to fucking move or do anything, man. I was just like standing my ground. I wouldn't say I was angry. I was just like, I could care less about what's going on. I could care less about the situation. I'm paying rent here. I'm gonna stay here. It is what it is. Some people would have said, oh, I'll leave, blah, blah, blah. But nah, I pay rent here. Like if I leave, I still gotta pay rent. I might as well just stay in this thing. That was an interesting situation too. And you know what? I'm gonna stop the video here and I'm gonna make a part 2 talking about that part of my life too. Those 3 months where we lived together after the breakup is huge and very interesting. It was a very interesting time that taught me a lot of mistakes and a lot of lessons that I can also give to y'all, so y'all avoid those same pitfalls, man. That's the story of the woman that crushed my shit and broke my heart. Being in that relationship and it ending was such a catalyst for a lot of things happening in my life. So hope y'all enjoyed the video and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one.